Whether you believe it or not, I get no joy out of bringing you these types of videos, but unfortunately the hits keep on coming, and this time YouTube has joined the fray. The headline reads, YouTube is offering voluntary buyouts to employees amid AI disruption, and basically what that means is that staffers who want to leave the video platform will be eligible for a severance as they restructure the product division into a few different groups. Now, as we read a little deeper into this headline, YouTube CEO Neil Mohan cited the disruption and opportunity of AI as the reason to restructure the video platform, with executives creating new reporting structure for the company's product teams, rolling out a voluntary employee buyout program, and offering severance to any YouTuber who wants to leave the company. Now, they wanted to stress that no rules are being eliminated as part of these changes, but we have to keep this in mind. When a company is offering voluntary severance, they already have plans to reduce their headcount by a certain amount. And what they're hoping to do is see who is going to take the voluntary severance program first. They already have a predefined number of what they need to see. And if they don't hit those numbers, then they almost always move to a layoff in force. And the thing about voluntary severances is they're generally more lucrative than their traditional counterparts. So there's a vested interest in somebody taking a voluntary severance because usually the terms are better. But it poses a really interesting dilemma because if you're somebody considering it, you have to think there's a chance that I may not get laid off. And if I take this voluntary severance, I might be leaving a company or a job that I love and may have been just fine. On the other hand, if I don't take the voluntary severance, I could still get wrapped up in a layoff and have less beneficial terms and less time to plan ahead. And in general, it's better to be the one in control of your exit rather than being reactive. But nonetheless, this poses a really interesting dilemma for people who are in these voluntary severances because you have to expect that there is going to be traditional layoffs following fairly shortly after. If they don't hit their number, they're going to move to the next round, and they've probably already got names circled on a list somewhere. And if you're meeting with the Bobs in some sort of organizational meetings where they're asking what kind of work you're doing on a day-to-day basis, just know they are absolutely looking at whether or not they can live without you in your role. So that's certainly going to be a big red flag that you should be paying attention to. Now, this is really an interesting timing for two different reasons. The first reason is that Amazon, if you watched my last video, you'll know this already, but Amazon just announced plans to reduce their workforce and have one of the largest layoffs in their corporate history. And they cited the same reason, AI disruption. But it also is at a very interesting time because this is when YouTube has actually announced a $10.3 billion revenue as it takes on a growing share of the TV market. This is just for this last quarter, and that's $8.9 billion over a year ago and $9.8 billion over the previous quarter. So this is not a company that's struggling. This is a company that's actually doing quite well. And in fact, their market share continues to really eat into traditional TV and other streaming, even beat out Netflix. It says it's constantly led share of TV viewers in the US for months, making up 12.6% of all viewing in September, which is insane. Beating out Netflix and other streaming services. And in saying that they saw a 14% increase in revenue. This is for Google's entirety of 87.1 billion. Holy crap! Which is said due to robust performance in Google search, which is actually surprising considering, I don't know the last time I used Google search, but YouTube ads are a thing. Like that's how they earn their money. You have to watch a few of those. Unfortunately, I know that they can be annoying, but you have to watch a few YouTube ads in order to get this content for free. But Alphabet has had a terrific quarter with double-digit growth across every major part of our business, and that includes YouTube. Now, if you look at YouTube ad revenue, it's growing, and you can see in third quarter 2025, which is where we are as I record this video, they're killing it right now. And so this voluntary severance comes at a very interesting time because they're rolling out these AI tools even when they're at peak efficiency, peak profitability, but they're still looking for ways to reduce cost. And usually this is an activity that happens when the economy tightens. The first thing they look at is eliminating salary because that's the biggest line item on their balance sheets. And if they're not getting enough people, they're going to move into a traditional. So they're probably offering incentives for retiring. So if your company is offering those early retirement incentives, or if they offer those voluntary severances, you got to be paying very close attention to it. But we are seeing a lot more companies starting to announce This AI is being the reason, even when they're profitable. And this is probably the biggest difference that I'm seeing. The market seems to be changing even like, I know this is not the news we want, guys, but I'm seeing the biggest like layoffs and coming in huge chunks. That's the first thing. Now I'm seeing companies who are potentially laying people off even when they're profitable. So this is not layoffs because we just need to cut costs. We're hemorrhaging cash, but rather we want to be lean and more profitable just for the sake of it. Which that's kind of like that's what corporations do. I mean, it shouldn't be like a dog will hunt, so to speak. But when we look at the broader market, what is this actually telling us? Is the job market starting to shift even further towards AI? And I wanted to play this other video that I saw because I think it's very short, but it's very telling of what the market is doing. And this is coming directly from Fed Chair Jerome Powell on CNBC, and I think it's really telling.
Significant number of companies either announcing that they are not going to be doing much hiring or actually doing layoffs, and much of the time they're talking about AI and what it can do. So we're watching that very carefully, and yes, it could absolutely have implications for job creation.
So what he's saying is AI is here, and it is taking jobs, and it is having an impact on new jobs being created. And it's not just people being offshored. In a lot of cases, these companies are racing to implement these tools, not because of necessity, but rather because they can save money, and it is absolutely having an impact on job creation. So if you're somebody that's got your head in the sand after all of this, still thinking that this is not going to come after you, that it's not going to impact you, that the AI tools are not effective and will never replace you, you have to start taking this seriously. This is literally as in your face as you can get. And listen, if you're somebody that still has your head in the sand about whether or not AI is coming and it's going to take jobs and it's going to impact industries and it's going to eliminate entire roles, entire job types, entire job classifications, and you think that it's just somebody else is going to be impacted, or you think the tools are not sophisticated enough to ever replace you, you're being extremely naive right now. Because in its current iteration, it is starting to do that. It is no longer coming. It is here. Federal Chair Jerome Powell is telling us, YouTube is telling us, Amazon is telling us, these companies are telling you what it is that they're doing. So you have to start taking this seriously. The people who will be left behind will be the people who are still in denial that this is a real thing, a real serious concern. If you're somebody that's hiding behind the comfortable excuse that these tools are not ready for prime time yet, they make too many mistakes, there's no way that it can possibly replace me, you're probably the one that's most at risk. It's the people who are adapting, who are taking proactive steps. In some cases, you may have to look at your job type altogether. You may have to look at, am I in the right industry? Do I have the right skills? Do I have the right experiences? Am I future-proofed? Pay attention to what's going on in the market around you. Are you looking at job postings and seeing what the market is demanding? How are your skills really with AI in your specific job, in the context of the stuff that you work on and the tools that are most common in your industries? Because if you're not using these tools now and you're going kicking and screaming and resisting it out of ego or whatever the case may be, the fact of the matter is complaining about it online, writing in some anonymous forum, leaving a comment on a YouTube video or wherever else, making a TikTok video about how unfair the job market is not going to stop this train. No amount of screaming and yelling about it is going to get these corporations to stop doing the things that they do. That's just what they do. They look to save money. They look to add innovation. They look at eliminating costs. The employee is not an asset for them in most cases. At least for 99% of us, they do not look at us as assets. They look at us as liabilities, a necessity that they need in order to produce their widgets so that their executives can get paid their big bonuses. You have to face that as the reality. I know that this is kind of hard-hitting. I know that we want to think that we are special in our jobs, in our careers, that we are irreplaceable. You spent the last 30 or 40 years building up a career only to find out at the very end that what you've been doing has been made completely irrelevant. I know how much that could be very difficult to hear and painful. The great news here, the silver lining, humans are extremely adaptable. You're no different. But you have to take action. You sitting back taking no definitive action in your career or in your job search where you're using the same crappy resume, same AI generated crappy resume that everybody else is using with all the same tools, doing the same things with the same, let's face it, outdated skills now, and not changing anything that you're doing and resisting what is happening on the open market, you're going to be left behind. Listen, I have a gut feeling that something big is coming and coming quickly. It could be as early as the end of this year. There is major changes on the horizon with our entire paradigm, and careers being obviously one of them. When I look at all the warning signs in the economy, these are obviously some of them. But when you look at the price of gold and silver and how it's been spiking, when you look at the economic system, it's been propped up with toothpicks and rubber bands, and it's on the brink of collapse. The dollar is on the brink of collapse, and I think that we are heading into unprecedented times. With unprecedented times comes opportunity, but it can be scary. And I think that we need to go into this period with eyes wide open. I'm not saying that this is going to be a recession, a depression. In fact, I think we're already in a recession, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know if it's going to be a depression, but I think that it could even be bigger than that it could be an entire paradigm shift in how we view money and how we view careers. We're at the precipice of something much bigger than us. And I think that potentially as early as December, Christmas time, we could be having a very different conversation. So I'm going to keep on paying attention to things. I'm going to keep on making content, my thoughts on where things are heading. But you have to do your part. You have to start taking this stuff seriously. You have to start looking at yourself hard in the mirror and asking yourself, how can you navigate this? I'm going to try to help you as best I can. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you're interested in more content like this, and we'll work through this together because this is unprecedented for me as well. So anyway, sorry about the somber nature of this video, but I do think that this stuff is important to talk about. As always, I appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next one.